What's up folks, I'm Lloyd Purvis and we are back with another review. Why do I struggle with the word review? Welcome back folks, I'm Lloyd Purvis and we are back with another review. That's better. What's up folks, I'm Lloyd Purvis and we are back with another review here today at Run4Adventure. Just over a month ago, I was lucky enough to get contacted by GPS watch company Coros and asked if I'd like to test and review their new and updated adventure watch, the Vertix 2. I actually reviewed the original version of this watch and really enjoyed the experience. So it was a big yes from me, especially when I heard about all the new and exciting changes they'd made. So let's get stuck into the video and we're going to break this review down into 3 sections. So the first being spec and features of the new Vertix 2. So we're going to talk you through all the crazy tech that has been crammed into this unit. Then we're going to highlight some of the new features that you now get with the new watch, and we're going to have a quick look at the bright and colourful Coros app. Next up, we're going to go into a bit more detail about what it's been like running and living with the new GPS unit and see if it's been as simple a process as it was with the original watch. Most importantly, we're going to see if it's lived up to all the hype that surrounded it on launch day. And then we're going to wrap the review up with a quick conclusion, and that's where we're going to find out if the Vertix 2 is a Garmin killer and see if it is worth that quite hefty price tag of £599. So without further ado, let's dive into the review. Let's go through a few specs first, and like I just said, the watch retails in the UK for £599. It now comes with a bigger 1.4-inch screen that's got a 16% higher resolution. So what that basically means is you've got a nice bright big screen that's really easy to read when moving at pace, and it will now support 8 different data fields on one page. So if you're the type of adventurer that likes a bit of data, then you can overload with the Vertix 2. Weight-wise, the watch weighs in at a pretty light 88 grams. So even though it's a pretty hefty unit now, it still feels nice and light on your wrist. Happy to say that it still comes with that quick release strap system, something I really liked on the original version. Makes it really easy if you want to change your straps over or you want to take them off to give the watch a thorough cleaning. And I'm really happy to say that it now comes with a much more practical and sensible waterproof case. A lot better than that sort of big briefcase that the original watch turned up in. I never really understood that. And the watch is available in a few different finishes and strap colours. Looking at some new features in the watch, and the user now gets an updated interface from Coros, which makes it even easier to scroll through and look at all those important metrics. Also, we get an updated touchscreen, which allows you to perform certain actions with the tips of your fingers in navigation, accessing music and looking at data. And talking of music, all you runners that love to run to the beat will be very happy, because for the first time ever, Coros have made it possible to download audio files onto the Vertix 2, and then you can control them from the GPS watch using the 32 gig of onboard storage. One of the biggest and I'd say the most important updates is that the Vertix 2 is the first GPS watch in its class that can talk to all the 5 major satellites all at the same time. So this should make for a great connection whether you're navigating through high buildings in a city or running in heavily wooded areas. A next generation chipset and processor has been used by Coros in the new unit, allowing for a better experience which is 20% faster than the original Vertix. It's a Coros watch, so we have to talk about battery life. It's the one thing that Coros do better than any other GPS watch brand out there. When we reviewed the original version of the Vertix, the battery performance blew me away, if I'm honest. I was amazed at the performance and how little I had to charge that watch up, and they've surpassed that in the new unit. So you now get 140 hours in standard full GPS tracking and 60 days of battery life in normal use. Finally, I'm happy to say that we now get global offline mapping, which includes landscape, topo and hybrid modes. And I have to say it's about time, Coros, so well done. This has to have been one of the biggest drawbacks before. When you're paying this type of money for a GPS device, you expect it to have mapping, and I personally think it was the lack of mapping that put a lot of people off the original version, and that was definitely reflected in the comments below that original review that we did on the channel. The watch comes with full global landscape maps straight out the box, but you can also download topo maps by region for free from Coros.com. Some other new interesting functions are the onboard ECG feature. So this allows you to measure your heart rate variability from your wrist, and HRV is the ideal metric to measure the body's response to stress, but also its ability to recover. Also, a pretty strange new feature, and I'm not sure why you'd want to do this, but you've now got the ability to control your Insta360 camera from your wrist. That is, if you have an Insta360 camera and you want to control it from your watch. Weird. So as you can see, there's been some really interesting new tech squeezed into the Vertix 2, but you obviously get all those standard GPS watch requirements like pace, average pace, distance, elevation, heart rate, etc, etc. And you get some pretty interesting ones like race predictor, VO2 max, accelerometer, biometric altimeter, thermometer, and so on and so on. You get where I'm going with this. I could literally sort of list features all day, but I won't because I'll bore you to tears. So there you have it, the all singing, all dancing new Vertix 2. Now, we've had this watch for just over a month now. We've tested it out in lots of different running situations. So let's dive in and see what it's been like using the Vertix 2, go through all the things we've liked about this high-end GPS device, but also maybe highlight a few things we feel could be improved. The first thing we need to talk about is that bigger updated screen. It really does make this watch a bit of a Goliath now. It's massive, in fact. So that has lots and lots of positives, don't get me wrong, but also for me, I think it has a few negatives. So we've got that 1.4 inch screen with that brighter, higher resolution. It really makes it easy to take in any information when you're doing your activity or moving at speed, which I haven't found is always the case with my GPS watches. I've had a few where them digits are so small, you almost have to stop to read any of that information, which isn't ideal on a GPS watch. Not the case with the Vertix. Them digits being so clear and the screen being so bright, really easy to read any information, even when you're moving quickly. And if you are a real data nerd and you like to analyze every aspect of your training, the fact that you can get 8 data fields on one page at a time and still read that information is pretty impressive. The only drawback to the size is maybe for me, it's just a little bit too big. You know, I've got quite dainty runner's wrists. I haven't got like big muscly forearms. And it does sit quite big on my wrist. It's not the weight of the watch is super light, it's just the size of the unit. It's quite deep, that watch unit is quite deep, you can see there. And I found that, like I say, I'm very aware when I'm wearing it, and I think it is just the scale of it. And now and again, I have found myself catching it on things and banging it on things. So if you've got dainty little runner's wrists like me, maybe it is just a little bit too big. I'm loving the new redesigned user interface, so simple to access all that data using the scrolling wheel on the side of the case there. I'm also a big fan of this. There's something very satisfying about scrolling through that data using the wheel rather than pressing a button. Really good attention to detail from Coros. As you go between those data widgets, you get this nice subtle vibration. So like I said, it's all very satisfying and it feels really well engineered. When the new Vertix was launched, I would say the most hyped feature had to be the fact that it was the first watch in its class to have that dual frequency GPS, which is the highest rate of consumer GPS available on the market when it comes to accuracy. So in theory, it should be a lot more accurate than its competitors from Garmin, Polar, Sunto, and so on. And I've got to back that up. I've been really impressed with the accuracy of the tracking on the unit. Now, living down here in Cornwall, most of my sessions are on the Cornish coast path, the Cornish trails, or the road. I don't spend a lot of time running in big cities with tall buildings or in woodland with lots of trees. So sort of pick up, tracking, never really an issue for me with my Sunto watch. But we did manage to get hold of the new unit before we went out to Chamonix so we could test it out there. I took Liga up the stunning VK route for the first time. Now, that route, super steep. It goes right under a cable car, 1,000 meters again. There's a bit of tree cover early on, and it's made up of lots of tiny, really steep switchbacks all the way to the top. So pretty challenging for a watch to track. In the past, on my other watches, I've run the route several times. When I've got back and looked at the data, it is a bit all over the place and it's dropped out. There's straight lines and all kinds of crazy things going on. So got back, checked out the data on the Coros app, and I was so surprised how accurate it was. The watch literally tracked every single step of that route. Every switchback was found. It didn't drop out once. It didn't lose us once. So I'm really impressed with that new dual frequency setup on the watch. Moving on, and I think it's great to see that Coros have put a mapping feature on the Vertix for the first time. Now, I'm not a massive user of maps. Doesn't really bother me. A little breadcrumb trail for navigation is fine. But I know a lot of runners want that mapping feature on their GPS device, especially when it's costing near £600. What I will say is, it's not the most sophisticated mapping system in the world. So no turn-by-turn navigation, no street names, no points of reference. It pretty much is just like a glorified sort of breadcrumb trail sitting on top of a map. Now, don't get me wrong, the map really helps. You got a nice touch screen to zoom in and out of that map when you're navigating, which is a really nice touch, but it is pretty basic. I think it's a big step in the right direction for Coros, but it's still got some way to go when you compare it to some of the other full mapping features on some GPS devices. This is a Coros review, so we definitely have to talk battery life. We all know that that is a big selling point of their watches, and it was also something that kind of blew my tiny little mind when I tested out the original Vertix. So the watch has been crammed full of new tech from music, mapping, dual frequency GPS, and the battery life has gone up and not down. I'm not sure how Coros have achieved that. So you now get 140 hours in regular GPS mode. That's with 1 second pickups, 240 hours in ultra tracking mode, 50 hours in that dual frequency GPS mode, and you get 60 days of battery life if you're wearing it as a normal watch. So all very impressive figures. So to test this out, when the watch turned up, it actually already had 82% of battery life on it. So I didn't plug it in and charge it up anymore. I just put it on my wrist and started doing activities in it. It wasn't until about 2 weeks later and several activities that I had to plug it in and charge it once it had got down to about 12%. That is the only time I have charged this unit up. We've had it about 6 or 7 weeks now. I've done lots of activities over them weeks, from running, hiking, walking, and I've been wearing it every day as an everyday watch. And I am down to 18% battery life. So 6-7 weeks, lots of activities, wearing it as an everyday watch, and I've still got 18% battery, which is ridiculous. So I think we can definitely vouch for those battery life figures from Coros, and they look pretty accurate. I'm a big fan of the overall look and design of the new unit. I think it's nice and big and rugged looking, got some really good detailing on that titanium alloy bezel. Like I mentioned before, you still get that really good quick release watch strap system that's so handy, and you've got the ability to select different watch faces from within the watch or the Coros app. Speaking of the app, and it's a very similar story as before when we tested the original watch, it's fun, it's colourful, it's bright and really simple to navigate, and it makes me want to jump on after a run and have a look because it just looks so good. Really easy to sift through all that information that you gathered, and it's just a joy to use. I have found with some watches in the past, the apps can be a little bit of information overload and you can't see the wood for the trees. So I think that Coros have got that balance just right. So they show you everything you need to see, but they don't overcomplicate it. As you can probably tell, it's been another positive experience with the Coros brand, and it's great seeing them adding new tech and adding new features and pushing those other brands in an already competitive marketplace. But there is a few areas where I think maybe Coros haven't made the smartest of moves, and the first one being removing ANT+. So the watch will only sync with Bluetooth sensors from now on. Now, this isn't an issue for me. I just run with the watch. I don't sync it with any Bluetooth sensors or devices, but if you are a cyclist or a triathlete and you train off power using an older power meter that uses ANT+, then this watch probably isn't going to be compatible, and it might also throw up a few other issues if you spend any time on, say, a smart trainer, because most smart trainers will only support one Bluetooth device at a time. It seems weird that Coros would add a feature where you can control your Insta360 camera from the watch, which to me is a completely pointless feature to have on a GPS watch, and take away ANT+, something that a lot of consumers would want and use when it comes to their GPS device. The only other issue I had with the unit is it comes with an oximeter. So using the sensors on the back of the watch, it will measure your blood oxygen levels at altitude. Now, obviously living in Cornwall at sea level, when we tested the original Vertix, I never got the opportunity to test out that function. When we took the watch away to Chamonix, I thought brilliant, great opportunity. We went up to about 2,200 meters. I put the watch on, I had that oximeter setting on, pressed the button, and unfortunately, I just couldn't get it to work. The sensor just wasn't picking up any information off my wrist, and I tried time and time again, and just no result. So that was a little bit disappointing, all the way to Chamonix to test it, and it didn't work. But I could go on and on about all the new tech and all the new features in the Vertix 2, but I think I've waffled on enough, so let's wrap this review up with a quick conclusion. So after testing out the original version and now the new shiny updated model, I suppose the question is am I still a big fan of the Vertix watch? The answer has to be a resounding yes. Again, I found it to be really well thought through, really well engineered, super simple to navigate through all the features on the watch, and when I've wanted to find any data on that really great looking Coros app, it's been really straightforward. The clarity on that higher resolution, bigger screen has been brilliant. It is so crisp and clear and so easy to see all your data. Great build quality, as I've come to expect from the Coros brand. The fact that they've added mapping and music to that long list of features on the watch is definitely a big step in the right direction. Even though the maps aren't super detailed at the moment, hopefully this will be something that's improved in the future with maybe a firmware update. As far as the dual frequency GPS, when it comes down to accuracy, has to be the most accurate running watch that I've ever used when I look back at all the data that I've gathered. And then something I thought that Coros could never improve on because I was so impressed with it on the original watch, and that has to be battery life. I have no idea how they've squeezed out even more battery life in the new model, especially with all them new features added. Very, very impressive, and it's really refreshing not having to charge your watch up all the time. So would I spend £599 of my hard-earned cash on a Vertix 2? Well, I've got to be honest, I'm not sure. To be fair, dropping ANT+ and with the mapping being pretty basic isn't really an issue with me, and I have really enjoyed all them new features that have been added to watch, and I've enjoyed the experience with the Vertix 2, but I think when I look at it closely, maybe the unit now is just a little bit too big for my skinny little runner's wrists. I'm kind of drawn towards maybe the Apex or the Apex Pro within the Coros range, a slightly smaller unit, slightly smaller watch face, slightly lighter, but they're still packed full of a lot of the great features that the Vertix 2 has, and they've both got really good battery life. A little bit more affordable as well. Apex Pro coming in at $449 and the Apex coming in at $299. Makes them slightly more affordable than the more expensive Vertix 2. So that is a wrap on another review at Run4Adventure. Really hope you've enjoyed it. Really hope you found it helpful. Hope you've enjoyed having a good detailed look at the new Vertix 2 from Coros. Obviously, lots of tech packed into this watch, and we're limited on time when we do a review at the channel. So I've left a link in the description if you want to find out any more information about the watch or about the Coros brand. Don't forget to get involved, guys. We always love to have your feedback. So are you a big fan of the Coros brand? Have you got one of the new Vertix 2s? What do you think about all those new features and updates when it comes to music, mapping, or how do you feel about the brand dropping ANT+ in the Vertix 2? Let us know in the comments below. Also, you can follow us on our other social media platforms. We'd love to have you along. So whether it's Instagram, Facebook or Strava, really exciting times at the channel at the moment. So we got lots of new products turning up at Run4Adventure HQ. We just had a box of Say Sky goodies arrive, so lots of new apparel, but I've also managed to get one of their new waterproof jackets, which looks super exciting, and one of their new trail running packs. So can't wait to get out and test those and bring you guys a review at home. But also moving into winter, we've got a few head torches on the way as well that we're going to be testing, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But as always guys, thanks for watching, it's really appreciated. We will see you back here soon, and as always, stay safe and keep on running.